What's up, YouTube? I thought I'd do an update and give some of the vehicles that start on this channel some closure. I figured a lot of them actually do need some closure. I'm going to basically make this video and add this to all of the playlists of the cars that are gone. And there won't be any video updates to, so you guys can kind of get a idea what happened. So if you're watching this video and you got to this point, there's no more videos on this car, and it's probably over. And yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and start out with the first vehicle. It was my 76 Oldsmobile 98. I sold that car and bought that car twice. I had that car. It was actually the first vehicle video I did for the channel, and that was the first car that was on this channel. And I bought it, I drove it for a little bit, sold it, bought it back for less than I sold it for, sold it again, twice as much that I bought it for the first time, and made money on that car, and that was a good deal. Hardly put any money into that car, just drove it and enjoyed it. And the main reason I made this YouTube channel was for my 77 Chevy pickup that I had, the 3/4 ton, part-time four-wheel drive, crusty bucket turd that it was. What happened to it? It ended up going to the crusher. There was not much to that pickup left worth saving. Now I think about it, I should have probably pulled the MP205 transfer case out of it, and the 3-speed with the granny low. Probably should have saved those, but when I moved all my stuff, all my operations out of the shed that you remember, that's actually in this picture, the white shed in the background, which we'll see a much better picture of it in the next slide. When I moved all that stuff, I threw a full set of rust-free fenders away for 84 Camaro, a bunch of 84 Camaro interior parts, a full Z28 ground effects package. I threw away 4 sets of 3/4 ton, full floating rear ends, Dana 44s, and I had 1 Dana 60. They all got scrapped because I had nowhere to go with them. And that's what happened to a lot of these vehicles. A lot of my parts and stuff, all my good parts selection that I had, kind of dissipated, and that's kind of where I molded this channel to change a little bit. We're going to go on to the next one. The next one was my 71 K5 Chevy Blazer. I sold it after I ripped the entire front clip off of it, pulled the motor out of it, had a 383 stroker. It's actually still around, and I know where the motor is, but I have no clue what happened to the K5 Blazer. The guy I sold it to him without having the tires and wheels that were on it, and I kind of got screwed out of them. Somebody stole them off of it before I got them back, so I didn't end up getting tires and wheel package that pickup had. I knew who stole them. There was no way to get them back because he polished them. There was no way to prove really they were mine. But I still had the center caps. He didn't have the center caps for the wheels, so I just chucked the center caps in the trash. I was like, screw that guy. He ain't getting the center caps for them fucking wheels. You can't find them for anywhere. So I basically gave him the big old F you and threw them away because I knew I was never going to get those back anyways. But yeah, so we're going to move on to the next car. That was my 96 Crown Victoria. That was a fun car. That was an awesome car. It was too bad what happened to it. It blew up. You guys know I got too hot. I blew a head gasket, and it was a $700 car to begin with, and I drove it for a year, put 6,000 miles on it, a little under 6,000 miles on it, and I think I got my $700 worth. I just pulled all the stuff out of it that was worth money to me, moved on, sent it on down the line. It actually went on to the crusher about the same time the 77 Chevy did. I had them together, kind of off in the background. As you guys can tell, there's a few update videos on the 77 Chevy that were actually after, I believe, right before this car or after, I can't remember. Then we move on to the next star of the YouTube channel. That was a really good star that was actually had a lot of videos was my beloved 95 Camaro V6. Sad to say it, I sold that car about a year ago now. Over a year ago now. And I got well over my money what I had in that car. I originally bought that car for $600. Needed a water pump, timing cover, gasket, and I put a little bit of money here and there in it. Put a full set of tires on it. It was probably the most expensive thing I did. Most of it was stereo related in that car, and 90% of the stereo is out of the car when I sold it. It didn't have any amps. It had a Sony head unit in it. That was the only thing. I wish I would have kept the Sony head unit because that was a good radio. But yeah, I sold it, and I made some money on that car. I made pretty good money on that car, and I got a lot of use out of that car too. I put 22,000 miles on that car, and it sat in the garage probably for the last year of its time I owned it. So I sold it, and it's out running around. I occasionally see it. I sold it to a guy, then he sold it, and I occasionally see it running around. It went actually down by the city that I work in, so I occasionally get to see it running around. I would actually like to see if I can't get them stopped and talk to them and see if they wouldn't be wanting to sell it, because I wouldn't mind having that car back again. But I don't really got the space, so, you know. And to go alongside of that, we had the 95 Z28 Donor Car. That was going to be the Z28 Donor motor and transmission, rear end, all that stuff for the V6 car to turn it into the Z28 clone. Well, that car I still have. Right at this very point, it is February 11th, 2017. I still have that car. My plans for that car is to pull the motor and drivetrain out of it, and possibly the rear end. And I'm going to save all that stuff, probably along with the harness and everything. I'm going to save that stuff, clean up the engine, paint it up. And I have a plan for that, but I'll wait a little bit more into the video, and I'll explain where that engine, transmission, and rear end is going to be going. But yeah, we'll go to the next car. Was my 98 or 97 Grand Am I had. I can't even remember the year of this car, because I had this car maybe 5 months, and then I sold it. It was not a bad little car. Once again, I gave $700 for it. There's a going theme here for cheap cars on this channel. It didn't get blown up. I sold it. I actually sold it for a decent amount of money to my brother. He drove it probably for a year, and then sold it again, and made a little bit of money there, I believe, too, when he sold it. And there ain't much to say about that car. It was a nice little car. It ran good. Got good fuel mileage. That was its main intent. Main intention, I should say. Then the next one was my 74 Chevy pickup, step side, the K20 that everybody argues is a K10. It had an RPO code 4K20 and a step side box. And it's also got an RPO code for being a special order. Well, that's not really an RPO code. I can't remember what that is, but it's like a special order truck, and it was ordered that way. And I don't have it anymore. I sold it. Actually, I didn't sell it. I traded it for another vehicle that we'll get to. I traded that for that 3000 GT, which will be a slide upcoming here too. I got a few more cars before it. And it wasn't a bad truck at all. I love that pickup. That's been my favorite truck out of every truck I've had so far. I would have loved to have kept that truck. It was stupid of me trading it for that 3000 GT. The only good thing about trading it for that 3000 GT was I ended up getting the bird turd out of it. I got my 2000 Firebird out of it, and we'll explain that later. So if I could find that pickup, I would love to buy that pickup back in a heartbeat. I don't care if it's even more beat up than it was. I'd love to have that pickup back. It would just be awesome to have that truck. Moving on to the next slide is my 84 Z28 Camaro. And this is the only picture that I had of it. All the rest of it was video. You guys can probably guess what happened to that car. Yeah, it got scrapped. It was too much chassis bent. It was, as they say, had so much torque coming off the line that it bent the chassis. But no, it actually was bent. with no engine in it. I can't remember, the passenger side tire was off the ground about 1.5 inches. The frame was tweaked way too much to really do anything with it. It was sad because it was a relatively rust-free car. It was an Oklahoma car, and it was pretty rust-free, and it went down the line and got crushed alongside a bunch of other cars that were with it. If I can find a picture of it, I'll throw it in there, but it was the 84 Berlinetta, blue Berlinetta I had. It was the parts car for this one, didn't have a title. Actually one of the only third-gen Camaros besides the IROC that ran. And it went down the line too. I would have loved to save that car. If I'd have found the place I could have parked it, that car would have been awesome because it had a lot of parts that the next photo I'll show you had for that car. With saying that, we'll move on to the next car. It was the 84 Camaro, the brown 84 Camaro Berlinetta with the digital dash. I actually still have this car. It's being stored out at a coworker's house. A long story short, I traded this in a boat for a pickup. Then I really didn't want to put the work into the pickup. I really rather had the Camaro, and I traded his pickup back for the Camaro, so I kind of got screwed out of the boat. But, you know, it happens. I didn't want a boat, but I have it back again. It had a 383 stroker in it. It doesn't come with. It's still got the 383 stroker in it, but the guy that has it bought the 380, or has the pickup, bought the 383 stroker out of the Camaro to put in the pickup, or I don't know what he plans on doing with it. But we're gonna pull that motor out of it eventually. And going back to the Z28 swap car, the 95 Z28 swap car, that's actually where I want to put the motor and transmission, the LT1 motor and transmission rear end in that car. Maybe not the rear end, but at least the motor and transmission I want to put in that car. I would love to have a fuel-injected, I should say sequential fuel-injected electronic automatic overdrive transmission. And that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to swap that over into that car. Now, I'm going to do a separate video for ATVs. And right now, I did successfully get rid of some stuff, and I am sitting on some money, so I have no idea. I'm stuck between two options. I really, really, really want a car I can drive right now. I'm looking at like C5, C6 Corvettes, 2010 5th generation Camaros, or a little newer than that, just a 5th generation Camaro. I'd love to get one of them and toy around with it. I'd probably get rid of the Berlinetta if that happens, but just stay tuned. I don't know yet. I've also thought about taking this cash and pulling that motor out of that car, cleaning it up, and putting this money into the Berlinetta and being able to drive the Berlinetta and have fun with it. But I really want a manual. I don't really want to spend the extra cash what it would take to get a manual to put in the Berlinetta, and the time and all the work, even though I have the pedal assembly and all that stuff to put it into the Camaro. But for right now, it's on hold, and it's probably going to stay where it is until I can figure out what I'm going to do with it. So the next side is the 3000 GT. This car, I got a bad rap for this car because I was pissed off for trading this for my 3000, or not my 3000, for my 74 Chevy, because it was kind of a fucking lemon. I kind of got screwed. It was a big shit pile. But it was a fun car, and it did have some power, and if I could get my hand on a nice 3000 GT VR4, I would actually like to have a VR4, because them cars did handle good and had pretty respectable power, and they are a fun car. I mean, I didn't ever really feel comfortable in the car. It was awkward to me. I don't know why. And I mean, I don't want to drive a car that's awkward to me. But looking back now, I would have kept the 74 Chevy, hands down. The next one we're going to be showing you, this is the only picture I could find of it, sadly, was my 01 or 02 Chevy Tahoe I had. Now, I sold it. I actually got it from my brother and sold it back to my brother. My brother still has it. I can't remember how many miles I had on it when I bought it. It had like 220. A little bit before that. I can't remember. I think 220. I think it had 220,000. It has over 250,000 miles on it now. Still running strong. All the deer damage is fixed. Got a little bit more rust on it than last time, but hopefully we can do something about that someday. But, you know. So it's gone. Next slide was my 2000 Firebird, my daily driver, for a long time. I put a lot of miles on that car. Really, for me, owning cars, I get rid of cars like I change my shirt. You guys know that. And to go with that car, I had the Donor 98 car. I know where that car is. I sold that car. I see that car going to work every day, and for like the past 2 weeks I've seen it. I've been contemplating, I know the people that have it, I've been contemplating stopping and actually trying to buy that car because I would love to put an LS motor in that car because that car was completely clean. Really, really nice car. It even still has one of the black wheels on it from my my 2000, so that's kind of cool. So both those cars are gone. We'll move on to the 86 IROC I had. I don't have that car anymore. I sold it. Actually, I traded it for a K5 Blazer you guys have never seen on this channel. I do have a slide coming up for it, so I will throw 2 cars at the end that you guys have never seen. And I'll show them here in a bit. But I have it. I don't have it. I don't have it. I have the K5 that I traded for it still. But this car was fun. I almost wish I'd have kept it and put the 5-speed in it, and possibly swapped it up to a 6-speed, fixed the rust. I don't even know if I'd have painted it because it had a nice patina look to it. It was a fun car. It just was going to be a lot of work, and it was kind of, time to let it go when I got the trade. My next car was my first car that was actually the nicest car that was on this YouTube channel, besides my 95 Camaro, because I think it was a little nicer for being the age it was and the miles than this 08 was. But was my 08 Impala SS. I sold it about, probably 8 months ago to a coworker's son, and he's still driving it, having a blast, getting tickets, and yeah, he's loving it. But yeah, so I sold it. It's gone. Then we'll go to slide 15, the old trusty rusty 04 Chevy Trailblazer. Still driving that thing. Put 20,000 miles on that bad boy. I want to see 200,000 with it. I love driving it. It's comfortable. Right now I got to do some more videos on it because I plan to do some upgrades on the stereo equipment a little bit just to bring it up a little bit better, more dated. It's a little dated now, but I want to put a double din head unit in it, because it's one of the only vehicles that I've had that could support a double din head unit, and having a backup camera would be nice. So got to do a little bit of maintenance first. Got to put another wheel bearing in it, and possibly axle shafts in the front because my boots spewed all the grease out, and I think they've got some bad spots in them that need replaced. So once I throw this other wheel bearing on, I will see if it needs it, and if it still does, I'll go ahead and throw some axles in it, or just at least the one side I think that's bad. Okay, now we're up to the 85 K5 Blazer I traded the IROC for. I have this truck. This truck had a bad motor in it. It actually had a motor that was supposedly built really soon before it was put in, and I believe it, because apparently these guys couldn't spare the expense. They had to save the money on head gaskets to buy the chrome valve covers and chrome air cleaner, because this motor didn't have head gaskets. And you're like, what? How did it run? Oh, it had some sort of head gasket. It was pipe dope. They used pipe dope for the head gaskets. Surprisingly, it didn't leak. And yeah, trust me, I scraped and scraped and scraped to try to find a head gasket on this motor. It did not have head gaskets. It had pipe dope as head gaskets, or some sort of RTV silicone, but it was not fully dry. It felt like pipe dope, and I'm pretty sure it was pipe dope is what they used for They used thread sealant, I swear, this had gaskets. It was missing one rod bearing. It had half of it, so basically it was half moon rod bearing. It had one section on the rod, and it didn't have a bearing on the cap. And I swear to God, they rolled all these components around in the dirt before they installed it. This was the shittiest engine build that I've ever seen. I can't believe it ran. Honestly, it amazed me that it ran. One lifter was broke. It was fucking destroyed. And I'm impressed it ran for as long as it did. I mean, it made it over to my house, and the kid drove it around for like a month. I mean, he probably put 10 miles on the thing, but that's just impressive that it ran that long. And so I still have it. It's kind of on a project hold. Don't know what I'm doing with it. Might sell it. Might keep it. Depends on what happens. I don't know. Move to the 1980 Trans Am. This is the first second-gen Trans Am I've had. I kind of think I have it sold. I'm kind of payment pending. I'm waiting for a buddy of mine to pay me for it. And if that don't happen, I'm going to be stuck with it. And I really don't know what I'm going to do with it. I'm probably going to sell it again. I mean, I love, that's my dream car to have one of them in really top shape, but I don't really want to put the time into a car and the money into one to make it what it is. I've learned it's a lot easier to buy them done. I know you won't have as much respect for them, but if you restore a car, I've learned you do not want to keep it as much, because it's never 100%, and there's always stuff you want to be doing to it because you know what's been done to it. It's kind of why I like newer vehicles, because they're kind of fun to work on, and you get a lot more power out of them, a lot cheaper. So I don't know what I'm doing with that one, but that's the last vehicle slide that I have for the February 2017 update. So we'll catch you guys in the next video. I'm probably going to do an ATV roundup update for you guys. That'll be a lot shorter than this one. So hope this cleared up some of the questions on all the vehicles and where they went. Like I said, I'm going to put these in all of the playlists of the cars that are gone. And yeah, so we'll catch you guys later. Have a good one.